Hello, everyone. Brett the Comic Novice here. And with 2023 underway, DC Comics' Dawn of the DCU is now underway. It's reboot, maybe soft reboot, depending on your perspective or your thoughts on the whole thing. It is underway. And I will tell you, I am coming to this with lots of hope and I guess you could say positive outlook. Now, I do think that there's certain things that are going to be not done as well, and I will tackle those as we get there. But I believe with New Comic Book Day from January 25th, 2023, Action Comics 1051 is the first, and as stated also in the last page of the book, that this is the first title in the Dawn of the DCU, followed by February's Superman #1, written by Joshua Williams. So now I think that this is very important because the previous comic, Action 1050, whether you like it or not, and I've seen a couple people really not like it, I do think it did some really important things and set certain things up in motion, and that cannot be understated. So there's three writers: Philip Kennedy Johnson, who is the main writer for Action Comics, who I've been thoroughly enjoying, and regardless of whether you thought the Warworld saga went on way too long, or it went on way too long, I think he is still doing a very good job. You have Tom Taylor, who took the Son of Kal-El storyline that went 18 issues until it was canceled. And then, of course, if you ask him, it possibly was always going to be canceled, only to be rebooted into a 6-issue mini. However, with the 6-issue mini, you have like this whole, perhaps it could be longer depending on the sales. Now, I'm not interested in that series. What I am interested in is the main two Superman books, which is Action Comics and also Superman. And I believe 1050 takes that and goes with it. Regardless of whether you like how Superman is now being forgotten by so many people. Now, they did a Doctor Who. They did a Doctor Who with the 10th Doctor and Donna Noble. If Donna remembers the Doctor, her head will explode. Perry, when he starts to remember that Superman is Clark Kent, he has a mild seizure. I mean, it's kind of ridiculous. I think it's odd way to reboot the whole thing, but I do like the undoing of the secret identity for the for the whole super family, I should say. To me, one of the worst things about 1050 is, of course, they had to have Jay Nakamura there because there is a bubble around the Kent farm in Smallville that protected everybody who happened to be there from having their memory wiped. Just luckily, everybody was there. Lucky also, Clark Kent was there, or else he'd forget who he was, possibly. Who knows? Anyway, I like the diabolicalness of Lex, almost the selfishness of Lex, and I also like that Lex is now having his decisions have placed him in prison. Now, oddly, he is still able to talk to Metallo, and I honestly, if he was under constant supervision, you'd think that these weird conversations that he has, unless it's a mind chip or whatever, like people would be kind of on to these plans. But you know what? This is the comic universe. It's okay. And then of course you have Manchester Black, who did die in 1050, but you know what? It's a comic death. It's not going to last. I just hope that that the Superman not being able to be remembered by people will last. I think that superheroes do need to have secret identities, and they need to be able to walk out in public. I do appreciate that at least before the cringy parts of some of the Tom Taylor, John Kent, Son of Kal-El pages appeared, the Jake Nakamura stuff, it did show his sigh of relief that he does not know, people don't know that he is the son of Superman. He can now be out in public. And I think that, for as much as maybe Brian Michael Bendis wanted to do, I think it was more of a selfish act on him, and possibly even more of he was not aware that this was a thing, that Superman ever shared his identity before, and then of course had to be undone. So I do like that was kind of fixed or whatever. With 1050, in Action Comics, we kind of have a couple storylines that are underway besides the whole forgetfulness of Superman slash Clark Kent. Why? We have a great fight between Lex Luthor and Superman, and I love the idea that Lex Luthor was about to possibly, do some sort of mind control to overtake Superman until it was, ceased. You have a very interesting setup to where, I like, again, I will say, I like 1050 to some extent. I like the undoing of certain things. I like the whole setup of Superman issue #1. I even, for like better or worse, I do like the setup for the John Kent Superman 6-issue mini, and I will tell you, I'm kind of hopeful that it will be a 6-issue mini, and it is not going to be a full story. And again, I like the last page of 1050, which sets up the whole Metallo storyline that they are going to be going with in the pages of Action Comics too. So I think that's quite interesting. With 1051, I feel as though some of the similar storylines that they were shown in the Supergirl TV series on CW, which was also taken from some of the work, where you have people who aliens welcome, aliens not welcome, alien tech welcome, alien tech not welcome. You have the Super Family, which is now acting very similarly to the Flash family. They're working hand in hand together. The weird thing that it was is there's a point where Metallo set off an explosion, and Superman in front as Clark Kent is in the middle of a crowd with his wife Lois. Things were going down, and he immediately gets ready to rip off his shirt and with his Superman shirt underneath and go help save the day. But the question is in doing so, if people saw this happen, would everybody around him suffer a possible minor, whatever happened to Perry in the 1050? Would everybody have a seizure? Like, is that's what's going to happen? Like, does he now have to worry about not changing in front of people for fear of possible death? No, that's the only silly thing that has come from 1050 at all. I do like the fact that this leads up to, you have Connor Kent, who is now being, basically currently we are left on a cliffhanger at the mercy of Metallo. And then, of course, you have Metallo not wanting to do this, but basically being blackmailed by Lex Luthor because, of course, Lex is great. I do love him. And I also love, again, actually, never mind. The second story in this is written by Dan Jurgens, art by Lee Weeks, and I think the art is great. And I love this because this goes back to that one shot, the Superman Returns, Kal-El Returns or whatever, the one shot, and also it goes back to does it go back to that? Anyway, it goes back to the death of Superman 30th anniversary, at least in this story. And I love the fact that, we had this Doombreaker, this man who was morphed into a Doomsday it was, I was worried that this was just going to be a one and done thing and we were just going to move on with everything and it was never going to be brought up again. And to have this thing come back, and also to have this come back as the prequel almost to the Superman Rebirth series, written by Dan Jurgens, who I believe knows the character of Superman quite well. I am fully on board with this. In fact, I guess you could say my only complaint would be that this is just going to be part of an Action Comics trilogy story. And to me, that's where probably the weaker part of the Dawn of the DCU is, because we have a really strong main story. We have this, which I think is just as good and just as fun so far, and I do look forward to more stuff coming out. However, the part that I don't like is the third story, which with Power Girl. I got 1.5 pages into it and I just checked out. I'm not interested in this. I don't think the writing is well, and maybe the writing is well, and I just didn't give it enough time, but I don't care about this. And this has been one of my problems with DC Comics is I hate the backup stories for the most part. I rarely ever read them. If you're trying to get, young writers opportunities, young artists opportunities, that's one thing. But I don't think that that's what they're doing. I think they're using established writers and that are either heavily criticized or, trying to reboost them after they deboosted themselves or whatnot. And I'm just not a fan of this third story. And that's the part of this that I don't like. I don't like having to buy a part of a story that doesn't interest me. I want 32 pages, with, ads included. I would like to have 32 pages with the main story and maybe even 8 pages with the second story featuring John Kent as seen in the Rebirth era, as seen possibly, I believe, in Convergence, if memory serves me right. I didn't read that, but I just memory. And so that's what I want. This third story, not interested at all. Again, totally checked out. I'm hopeful. I'm hopeful for the dawn of the DCU, but I am totally not interested in this Lazarus Planet. I'm picking up the Alpha and the Omega issue, and I'm not picking up any of the others. I will probably read the others on the DC Infinite Universe app, but that's it. I'm completely out because, Future State, I picked up everything, and then everything everything that was changed was unchanged. Everything. So DC has shown me that I can't kind of trust them with some of these, mini events. And then, of course, now we have miniseries, which, Green Arrow, I think, is a 6-issue mini with a possibility of more or a second season. I'm sorry, personally, if you don't have enough faith in the book to be an ongoing, I don't have enough faith in the book to follow it along. I will pick it up on the DC Universe app because you know what? Things are getting more expensive once again. I need to figure out what is important in my life. I will take Action Comics, I'll take Superman, and I'll take a Flash and a handful of others. But that's about it. So again, what are your thoughts? What do you think about the new Dawn of the DCU featuring the Superman stories? I am very hopeful for these. I think that there's so many things to be optimistic about. I think there's a couple things that you can be, pessimistic about. But again, everybody's opinion is their own. I'd love to hear your thoughts. Comment below, like, subscribe, whatever. And until next time, I will see you in the dollar bins.